So, hello, Ben. Thank you so much for being part of our webinar and recording this film with us. So, your role is Regional Partnerships Manager and Wellbeing Lead with CIMSPA. So, with, I guess, that in mind, how has the cost of living crisis impacted on your members' mental health? So, what have you noticed?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me along, and apologies I'm not there kind of live and it's recorded, but we've noticed quite a lot, obviously. So as part of my role as a regional manager and a partnerships manager, we're constantly talking to employers, organisations across the sport and physical activity sector, and you know, it's been particularly difficult, obviously, over the last few months. And what we've tried to do is really reach out to our partners and our members as much as possible to kind of say, okay, how is this crisis impacting your mental health? How is it impacting your business? Because, impact on the business then means questions around your job, around, progression, around the future. And that always comes with that element of mental health, as you know. So we did a survey. So I thought it useful just to describe a little bit of the findings that we had, particularly around the energy costs. A lot of our partners and a lot of our members work in kind of leisure facilities or swimming pools. And as you can imagine, swimming pools in particular have taken, it costs a lot of money to run a swimming pool, put it that way. So, and 82% of the respondents of the survey that we put out in collaboration with the STA, so the Swimming Teachers Association, said 82% said that their work or their business had been impacted by the high energy costs. And 36 of all respondents said that this increase over the last 12 months has been more than 50%, and some recording up to 400% increase. So the impact on the business is huge. So what we have seen across the sectors is we have seen closures of leisure centres, and we have seen closures of facilities, or at least stripping back. So a lot of that then obviously impacts swimming teachers, it impacts lifeguards, it impacts the managers, all of the workforce that work within those centres or those facilities. And it's the same for the coaches that may hire spaces, the personal trainers that go into the gym. And what a lot of businesses have had to do is cut the times for the pools, especially, but having to cut sessions. And that therefore means reduced hours, there's lack of hours available, and a vast majority of the sport physical activity sector, as you all probably know, are sole traders and freelancing work. So it's really affected those people. But as part of that survey, we then followed up as a bit of a member pulse check, if you like. And a lot of the respondents came back that they were worried or anxious. And that stemmed from uncertainty about future effects of the cost of living. So a lot of people mentioned, so around 45% saying the cost of living hadn't impacted their mental health, which was, again, that's less than half, which is shocking, just less than half, which was shocking statistics, really. But the comments that people were saying is the way that they did manage to combat it was to keep hold of some reserves or keep a pot of money back, or really start to plan and use their time and their money wisely. So in terms of the effects, yes, huge impact, main impact being around the uncertainty.
All the things that you've just said, thinking about those statistics, the information that you've gained from your members, how do you recommend organisations in the sector can support their workforce's mental health during this cost of living crisis?
I think, the main thing is to make sure that you've got those kind of policies and those procedures within your organisation, and that you've got support available. This is cost of living crisis or no cost of living crisis, but at the moment particularly, ask yourself and sit down and look at your HR department or your people department or whoever that is. It could be yourself in this instance. Are you equipped, or do you feel comfortable enough that you've got the right policies in place? If somebody comes to you and says, I'm really struggling with X, Y, Z, have you got a step-by-step plan of what you're going to do from there? And I must say, I've done a lot of work with Sam at Mind, and he's helped us. He's been phenomenal in helping us to put in our mental health and wellbeing policy, our mental health action plans, and things like that. So first and foremost is just to make sure that you've got that support available. And anything really that you can share, like best practice. So for example, it's funny, our finance director over the last few months has turned into a bit of an internal Martin Lewis. And she just, every now and again, little nuggets that come into our internal channels, and she'll just share things, which is really, really helpful. So yeah, I kind of, she's probably going to shout at me for calling the internal Martin Lewis, but if anyone within the organisation has got tips or things that they've helped themselves with, or they've come across things, we've personally got we use Slack as an internal communications method, and we've created a Slack channel, so it's just specifically called Money Savers, and every now and again people will put in there about free coupons or something, or discounts on such and such energy, or discounts on something else. And even though that seems really, really small, it all adds up. So I think talking about it, understanding the situation that we're in, speaking to your employees and saying, yeah, this is where we're at, how does it make you feel, what support can we put in place as an organisation? We haven't got a magic wand, but can we combat some of those things to alleviate those pressures? So, signposting to the relevant resources. We've got an employee assistance program. We use Able Futures, and also we use charities such as Mind, and others, Samaritans and Shout. We kind of signpost out there to say, if you are struggling, if you need support, we're here, but also these are the professionals, these are the experts. We'll do our utmost to support you as an employee of this organisation, and also in conjunction with the professionals. So
and I think it's really interesting what you say about it's some of the small things sometimes that can just be so powerful. Like as you say, people providing tips over Slack. Your Martina, is in a female Martin Lewis. Providing those tips. It's just those things that I think it also enables your workforce to know, well, actually, you're thinking about me, you're trying to support me, and supporting each other. So really useful tips. Thank you.
That's fair. And just to add on to those a little bit, if I may, is we kind of run little finance webinars as well. So we brought somebody in externally, financial wellbeing webinars. And then also what I would do is encourage organisations to go and check out any funding opportunities. So this is an organisation, it's not, in turn supports your workforce, but go and have a look at Sport England's funding, for example, the Small Grants Programme, the Tackling Inequalities Fund, anything that may be able to alleviate some of those pressures helps you as a business, but also obviously helps your employees as well.
Brilliant. Yeah, great advice. Great, thanks, Ben. So following, I guess, on from that, with all those great ideas and great tips, what have been the challenges that you've found to support your staff's mental health this time?
Very difficult question, Karen, I'll be honest, because it's a difficult topic, talking about money problems or mental health problems can be quite tricky for some people, and I can completely understand that. I completely get that. So the challenge is for us as an organisation is just making sure that we've got enough, or that we can try and provide a holistic approach, or as much as possible. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier on that there is no magic wand. We cannot support the cost of living crisis at the moment. We cannot change some of those things, but if we can alleviate some of those pressures using, talking through some of the issues, or talking through how we can save money on certain bits and bobs, that's kind of where we're at. So those are the challenges. But what we do in that respect is try to put out surveys. We put out pulse checkers. It can be anonymous, just to say, okay, we get it, we understand it. We understand it's very difficult at the moment. Is there anything that we can do as an organisation to try and alleviate some of those pressures? Again, no magic wand. We can't give everyone, salary raises and all the rest of it. But is there anything else that we can do? Is there anything else within our remit where we can offer discounts, for example, in certain areas, or things like that?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because we talk about stigma with mental health, people feeling reluctant to talk about their mental health because of either stigma within society or their own self-stigma. But there is a stigma around talking about money, isn't there? And, I think all the things that you talked about recommending organisations to do, such as, having those top tips, your finance manager, director talking about it. Once you start opening up those conversations, it enables people to then start thinking, actually, it's okay to talk about it. And there is some support out there. So, yeah, I can see that as a challenge, but also with some of the things you've suggested can actually help to support that and alleviate that. So, brilliant.
Yeah.
So I guess finally, thinking about all the things that you've talked about, what has been the impact of the support you have provided so far that kind of follows on from what we've been talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think internally within the organisation, we've tried to create that openness, have that open relationship. People feel more inclined or more supported to be able to open up and to be able to talk about it. We've got a wellbeing committee at CIMSPA. So we've got wellbeing champions, we've got mental health first aiders, and also the employee assistance program I mentioned earlier on. But the impact of having those conversations, of putting it front and center of people's mind, that the support is there, should you need it, I think it eases the pressure. I think it, as you know better than me, Karen, raising the awareness and having those places and signposting to those areas, it means people feel supported, they feel more valued. And when you feel supported, you are getting that support and you are more valued. We can start to try and see the positives and build from there, really. So what we have found is, and it doesn't happen overnight. This isn't something that happens. It's something that you have to work on and build. But when we talk about organisational culture, this is something that if you haven't got it in place now, for future reference as well, we mentioned earlier about we don't know what the future brings, and it's that is quite off-putting and be quite distracting. Let's embed it into the culture. Let's get talking about it. You're not alone. You're not the only person, and there will be other people within the organisation that are feeling this way. They may just not have faced it yet, and we've seen that more people are forthcoming